Okay, so let's talk some more tariffs with somebody who knows a little bit about how Washington works, how the economy works, how bad we're getting hosed on trade. A little bit of a different perspective from the great senator from the state of Tennessee, Senator Marsha Blackburn. Okay, Senator, everybody has an opinion today, and obviously the proof is going to be in the pudding and on how all these things work out. But tariffs, why do we need them?
What we need to do is have a level playing field. And that is why you have heard President Trump talk about reciprocal tariffs. And it is so important that we make certain that we are going to advantage, as in America first, our U.S. companies and U.S. consumers and U.S. workers. So this is about protecting domestic manufacturing and innovation and intellectual property, and making certain that companies reshore these jobs. And what you will see is plans to have reciprocal tariffs. If somebody's tariffing us, then we will tariff them. Hopefully, we can make certain that it is a fair and level playing field for U.S. companies, and in this, we would be able to grow more jobs and also to increase our domestic manufacturing.
Senator, I'm glad you brought up, well, several things, but I'm glad you brought up intellectual property, especially as it pertains to China. This is one of those nerdy, wonky economic issues most people don't think about or care about, but China is just the worst freaking thief on the global scale of stealing people's intellectual property.
You're right about that. And we have Tennessee companies that have developed great concepts. They went to China maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago to manufacture, and then all of a sudden they're getting a flyer in their mail where China has ripped off their intellectual property, and they're producing that widget or grommet or fastener or component part at a price half of what the U.S. company has been paying them to produce it for. And all of a sudden, their intellectual property has been stolen, and they have an infringement lawsuit, an intellectual property lawsuit on their hands in order to recoup what is rightfully theirs. This is why so many people are saying, I want to get my supply chain out of China. And of course, that is a goal of the president, to reshore or friendshore this production so we can protect U.S. innovators.
Senator, how concerned are you with getting in a trade war with China? Obviously, Canada and Mexico will set that aside. They're here, they're gone, they're here, they're gone. We have a lot more leverage when it comes to them, but China does have an economy roughly the size of ours, and we do buy a lot of things from them. How's this going to play out?
What you will see is sanctions that are going to be put on China in some areas, and also the tariffs. What they're putting on us, we will put on them. I think this will allow some supply chains that are growing up in other areas, maybe Vietnam or maybe South America, Central America. It will allow expansion in those supply chains as the supply chain out of China shrinks.
The Panama Canal is something that Trump got super hot on. Well, he's been hot on it for a while, but he got super hot on it during the campaign. And it's something a lot of people just didn't pay attention to. I mean, who even knows about the Panama Canal? At least normal Americans. But China has been really, really clinching down control of that thing for a long time, haven't they?
Yes, indeed they have. If you look at the ports at either end of the canal, then you have China participation there, and Chinese-owned companies, which is owned in part by the Chinese Communist Party. When you have that, then you're running off of their technology systems. And we know that they embed spyware in all of their technology, like their broadband and their web utilizations, and their Huawei, which is their equipment that they're using. So they've embedded this spyware. So then they get into your system, they capture your data and information. And basically, what they do is build a replica or a virtual you of your transactional life.
Can you speak a little bit more about that intellectual property as it pertains to our military? Because there's so many concerns about that. Our ports in Florida, there have been concerns about Chinese surveillance because they put this stuff and stuff we buy from them that they're watching us. It's a national security concern, is it not?
Oh, of course, it's a national security concern. That is why we have banned Huawei and ZTE from being used by our military. It's also why we have banned TikTok from being on government phones, because all of these are embedded with spyware. And many people think of TikTok as just a fun little a way to watch videos of pets and cats and people doing funny things. But for China, this is spyware. And as I said, they're collecting all sorts of data on you, your utilization. The spyware moves into other apps that are on your phone, and it snoops through those apps and it collects the data on you. And then it's not a matter of you owning data that is on your phone. Someone else has replicated that, the virtual you that I mentioned. And then they're able to track you, to follow you, to send push notifications and emails, because they know what you do when. They know when you pay your bills. They know when you go out to eat. They know the type of food that you like to eat, the music that you like to listen to, how you shop, and the type things that you are shopping for.
It creeps me out that China knows that I just had Waffle House the other day. Senator, I have to ask about the Epstein files, because this is something you've been hot on for a while, and to your credit, you've not let it go. We had a little, I guess I'll call it phase one rollout. What's up with phase two?
Phase two, the FBI and Department of Justice have received a truckload of information. As they gave us what they said was their phase one, their first group. There were just a few new items that were in that, Jesse, but it gave us some clues to other things. And then DOJ and the FBI received the requested information from the Southern District of New York that had much of the information that had been held for the trial. And they are combing through that now and are doing the proper redactions to protect the victims. And we look forward to, at some point soon, that being made public.
Senator, one final thing about the judges. It's driving people crazy. I show up to work and my emails, I'm sure, look very similar to your emails. Something has to be done. Something has to be done. Now, that sounds great. Works really well on social media. Someone do something, but that's not actually doing something. What can be done? We're not going to impeach them. We're not going to get 2/3 of the Senate. I'm not naive.
Right.
What can we do?
And what we are doing is we held a hearing today so that we're elevating the issue and getting things on the record. Senator Grassley has a bill that would clarify that a district judge has jurisdiction over, number one, the case in front of him, and number two, the district in which he is seated. But that number three, he has absolutely no authority in which to issue a nationwide injunction. And Jesse, he has neither constitutional nor statutory authority to issue that injunction. So we have that legislation we are going to work through. It should be bipartisan. We know that President Trump had 15 nationwide injunctions filed against him in February alone. Through 4 years of Joe Biden, he had a total of 14 that were filed against him. So we are continuing to elevate this issue We do have our legislation. There is a similar bill in the House, a companion bill. And we also know that it is going to be up to Chief Justice Roberts to weigh in on this situation at some point soon.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you. Come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.